Well, hey, Rocky Peak, Michael here, and I'm here with Scott Kim, who's one of our newest pastors here at the church, and we just wanted to spend some time introducing him to you. You know, it's sort of awkward in this time of COVID to know exactly how to do things like this. Normally, probably introduce him on a weekend, maybe have a reception afterwards out in the patio, everyone get a chance to come and meet him and so on, but that's just not been possible. And so he's actually joined our team this summer. But we wanted to introduce him to you now because he's actually playing a very important role as we reopen our campus, relaunch Ministries, as God is doing a new thing. He's part of that new thing. And so we want to introduce him to you today. And so Scott, just welcome. It's so good to have you here. It's been a pleasure getting to know you over this past year, I think since December. And it's our chance now to introduce you to the church. And so I thought it'd be fun maybe just to start with a little bit of your background, you know, where you grew up, how God called you in the ministry, your spiritual journey, a little bit like that.
Yeah, so I came to the States when I was 6 years old from South Korea, and I pretty much lived around here in Los Angeles for the past 37 years, different parts from Cerritos, that's near Orange County, to West LA. And I came to accept Christ actually when I was pretty young, when I was in 5th grade at a church retreat. And God had called me into ministry as I was graduating from UCLA, my undergraduate years. I kind of ran away from that calling for a while, kind of felt like Jonah. Pressures from my parents, from the parents of the girlfriend that I was dating at that time, and until I said, you know what, I have to just follow God's calling. And so in my late 20s, I enrolled in Fuller Seminary, and I became a pastor.
Now, you've been involved in a couple churches for quite a long time before you came here. Maybe you could kind of describe like what those churches were like, what your role was there, kind of what you learned, how you grew, how God developed you.
Yeah, so I was in primarily 2 churches for the past 20-something years. So I was at one church called the Garden Church, which is a church I attended when I was at UCLA, starting as a freshman there. And so I was there for 16 years, kind of grew up.
And that's here in the Valley, isn't it?
Yeah, it was actually a church that was planted near UCLA, and then they moved to the San Fernando Valley.
Right, yeah.
But I served in various roles there. I was a worship pastor, the creative arts director, helping with the programming, raising up leaders. So various roles as an associate pastor there. And then after 16 years, I transitioned out to a church called Discovery Church.
And that's here in nearby in Simi Valley.
Yeah, so it was actually a church planted by Shepherd of the Hills and recently merged with Real Life Church. So I was there for 8.5 years, serving as the adult life pastor, overseeing small groups, men's and women's ministry, care outreach, anything dealing with adult life, and then became the campus ministry director, overseeing our staff and different operations of the church.
Yeah, so very, very diverse role there.
Yeah, I just jumped around in different roles and got my hands wet and everything,
Yeah. Now, you first came on my radar in December. How did you first, get interested in rock? How did you first hear about the position? We've been actually looking for this position for the last year or two. And so I first heard of you through one of our pastors here, Steve Sears. But how did you first hear about us, and what made you interested in this role that we were creating here?
Yeah, so my wife and I, our family has lived here in the San Fernando for 16 years now. So we knew about Rocky Peak, but there were probably 2 key pivotal people that came into my life. One is Tony Bowick, who's executive pastor at Rocky Peak. I had actually reached out to him several years ago, wanting to just pick his brain, and he would meet up with me at Starbucks, just being able to share and generous with his knowledge, his time. And so we would meet up every so often. And so that really just encouraged me to know, man, Rocky Peak and Tony, they're about the kingdom of God, advancing the kingdom. And as you mentioned, Steve was a very dear friend of ours. We had served briefly at Discovery as well. And he knew that we've been praying about a transition. And he said that perhaps Rocky Peak could be a great fit for you. And so he had been serving at Rocky Peak for many years, and he's the one who kind of encouraged me. Hey, why don't you see if you can come on?
Yeah, and it's been exciting to see that journey. Yeah. Now, as you know, I mean, we're pretty thorough in our
Oh, yeah.
in our hiring process,
Yeah.
right? We really work. We want to
Yeah.
make sure God's bringing the right people on the team.
Sure.
And so that started back in December as we reached out to you, began that conversation. Went through March, and then COVID hit, and we put it on hold for a while, not knowing exactly what was going to happen. And then it was just months later that got reactivated,
Yeah.
and you joined us this summer. So I guess the next question is, so what was it that made you say yes to this position?
Yeah.
What was it about this position, Rocky Peak, that you felt like, hey, God was calling you here?
Yeah. So since December of last year, I had been journaling, and I just wanted to just wait on God. And our family, we just really sought the Lord and said, God, would you open doors that no man can shut and close doors that no man can open? And we didn't know if Rocky Peak was the place or was going to open up. And we kept on praying. But during that whole time, I had a series of meetings or interviews with the staff members, with the leadership team, with you several times over dinner. And I think each time we came away, I remember having dinner, my wife having dinner with you and Lynn, and each time we came away just thinking, these are the type of people that we want to do life with, that we want to serve together with, people who genuinely love God and have a heart for people. And so I think ultimately we just knew that we just had peace in our hearts.
Yeah.
When God said, this is where I want you to be in this next season. This is where I want your family to be. And it's just been a huge blessing to see my son especially get connected. We're hosting a freshman life group at our home already, and just joined a life group of our own, a married couples group. So for all those reasons, we just felt like this is where God has us.
That's so good. Yeah. So Scott's role here, his title is Pastor of Adult Ministries, which takes in a large kind of umbrella for lots of things. It doesn't take in some of the things that like our life groups. It doesn't take in care ministry. It doesn't take like global ministries. But there's just a lot of things it does take in, like the assimilation process, how someone comes to Rocky Peak and moves from a guest to a committed partner, loving, serving, taking the journey with us. It takes in a lot of our educational things, Christianity 101, our premarital courses, our essentials courses. It takes in like lots of projects. He's also going to be working with Tony Bowick, our executive pastor, in terms of some of the operations area. And of course, just kind of general pastoral ministry, meeting with people, shepherding people, doing weddings, memorial services, those sorts of things. So it's a very broad role. But as you look at that role, or maybe as you look at your own particular gifts and calling, what are the things you naturally gravitate towards in ministry? What really gets your heart moving? What kind of drives you in terms of ministry?
Yeah, and those are really, there's two things that really wakes me up in the morning and drives me. One is I love caring and shepherding and pastoring people, helping people take their next steps, to see them come to know Jesus and then come to grow in their faith. And so seeing people and having people just discover their passions and gift just lights me up too, whether it's they're young or old. And then the second thing is I love seeing new processes and seeing how we as an organization, as a church, can win in this world in all different levels.
Yeah.
So those are two things that
Yeah.
I just love doing.
Yeah, and I think those are two of the things that really drew us to you, because this is a very broad role that really requires some great gifts, and just in terms of pastoring, shepherding, leading people, but also requires like strong organizational gifts of wisdom, administration, leadership, as we kind of continue to fine-tune our organization to be most effective for the kingdom. And so we're really drawn. Now one thing you're going to be involved in, I know you've been very involved with many, like August Unleashed.
Yeah.
You were very involved with that, a lot of the logistics, the planning of that. You're also going to be very involved with the relaunch of our campus, this new thing that God is doing this fall. And particularly one area is going to be with our Rocky Peak home churches. So can you share a little bit about the vision for that and then the role that you're going to play in that?
Yeah, so RP Home Church is just an environment where people can invite their family, friends, neighbors, people that they know and feel comfortable with to their homes and to host for them to watch the online service together. And so where I come in and is we just want to be able to train and pray and equip the host families to have a conducive environment. We want to bring them kind of a starter pack of goodies and just to get them ready and set up for this environment.
Help them succeed.
Yeah.
That's great. So tell us a little bit about, we've talked about your kind of spiritual journey and your journey into ministry and what you're going to be doing here, but tell us just a little about more your personal life in terms of maybe your wife, how long you've been married, your family, so on. Just share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're going to be celebrating, my wife Christina and I will be celebrating our 17th anniversary in November, and she's my best friend, just a wonderful partner, and I have a 14-year-old son named Nathan as well too, and they, like I said, they've been really excited about being a part of the Rocky Peak family and just diving right in.
Yeah, your wife, she works at UCLA, right?
So
a little bit about her background, what she does.
Yeah, so she works at the UCLA School of Medicine, and she's been there for over 20 years, serving as an administrative assistant to one of the deans at the school there.
That's great.
And my son, he's, as I mentioned, he's a freshman at Granada Hills High School.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I've been excited really to connect with your whole family. It's been a great transition, I think, for them as well. So just some fun facts now. So I've got a list of questions here. Favorite book of the Bible and why?
Philippians. I just love the letter that Paul wrote that speaks and encourages the church in Philippi and gives them that charge and to be filled with faith and joy.
Yeah, great. Favorite music or artist?
Oh man, I am gonna date myself. I kind of grew up in the 80s and early 90s, so there's a band called Depeche Mode that I love. But I don't know if I shared with you about this, but there's an artist named Phil Collins. Do you know Phil?
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. I've got some of him on
That's my first cassette tape that I ever purchased.
Your first cassette tape, that's great.
I'm dating myself again, right?
Yeah, that's great. It's just, I'd have to go back further than that, so it's great. How about favorite food?
Surf and turf. I love seafood and steak.
Great, awesome. A couple books that have greatly influenced your life or your leadership other than the Bible.
Yeah, so there's a book called Unbroken, story of Louis Zamperini.
I've read that book,
That's the one book that I just recommend to so many people.
Beautiful.
And then another book I would say is a book called Leadership is an Art. A fantastic book about leadership and what it means to just model the way.
Good. What do you like to do in your free time? You're not here at the office. You're not doing ministry. Like, what do you like doing in free time?
I love nature. Anything to do with nature. I know you love hiking as well too. We need to go hiking one of these days.
I know. Or backpacking. Or back on my motorcycle or whatever.
I've never ridden a motorcycle.
Yeah, we got to repair that. We got to fix that.
Yeah. So, but those are like. Anything dealing with like outdoors is
What about sports? You interested in sports at all?
Oh, I love sports. I love playing sports, watching sports.
What are your favorite sports to play?
Basketball, tennis, ping pong.
Okay.
You name it.
Yeah, and are you a sports fan, like of teams?
Yes.
Do you have favorite teams?
Right now, I'm rooting for the Lakers. Hopefully, they'll win it all. And, I'm a huge Lakers fan and just NBA fan.
Yeah. What about like football, baseball?
I'm sorry, I'm not a baseball fan.
That's
I used to be a baseball fan in the 80s. But
you get one off. Mine's golf. I'm not into golf.
I'm not into golf either.
Okay, good. So we can be best friends.
More fast-paced.
Yes.
High-scoring games.
Yes, right. It's so boring.
Yeah.
It's so boring. Yeah, I'm sorry for all you golfers.
Sorry.
but we're praying for you. Okay, well, it's good. Well, it's so good to have you, Scott. We've got to work together the last couple of months, and it's just been a real joy. We're already feeling your impact organizationally. It's someone that we prayed for really, literally, we've been looking for the last couple of years. It's been in the budget the last couple of years. And so we're so excited to have you and your family here. And for those of you who haven't met Scott, just looking forward to the chance of, we're opening up our campus again, weekend services and so on. So hopefully you'll get a chance to meet him too. And especially if you're going to be opening up your home for a Rocky Peak home church, he's your guy. He's your guy for resource. So we'll be sending you information, some tips about how to make a great environment, how to help be successful. But any challenge that you face, Scott will be your guy. And you'll see him in lots of different roles here at Rocky Peak. But we just wanted to take a couple minutes and introduce him to you today. So Scott, God bless you. We're excited to have you. And may the Lord just use you in a powerful way here at Rocky Peak.
Thank you so much, Michael. Yeah.